Okay, so let's get going because it's 7 o'clock and there's going to be a few more people logging in, but let's get going. So let me turn on my webcam. Hello. Hello, everybody. Hello, Orion and Tracy and Gina and Stacy, sorry. So nice to see. Oh, so many great names coming in. Hello, everyone. So we're a really nice group here today. And hello, Karen and Cornelia. And what we're going to be talking about today is all about change, and change in a nice and happy and reasonable way, and change in a way that actually works and stuff. And what we're going to be looking at today is change theory and a way of looking at change that you can bring into the rest of your life. We will be talking a lot about food because I'm a nutritionist, and so that's kind of my wheelhouse, but you can be using this style of change in so many different ways. As we go, as we talk about stuff, please don't hesitate to put any and all of your questions into the chat, and I will answer all of the questions at the end. I'm also going to tell you very quickly about a new workshop that is launching tonight. This is the first moment of announcement of this new workshop. So you guys are going to get the first taste of it. It's just going to be about 30 seconds. I'll tell you about it, and then we're going to get right into the questions. But today, we're starting with change. So what we're going to look at is why change is so hard. Why is it that all of us, myself included, have things we want to do and we just don't do them? We take forever to actually create this change. Why is that? And so because this is an issue, we're going to be looking at it in a new way to look at change. How can we look at change in a different way to make it actually work? And then how to actually do it. So the instructions on how to take this theory and put it into real life. And this is just a 4-step, do this, 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 and this, and change happens. And so I'm hoping that by the end of today, you can be moving from, I don't know if I can do this, to I can do this. Linda is saying it states video file not found. I am online. Is anybody else seeing that? If anybody is not seeing my slides change, can you let me know in the chat? Linda, if you don't mind logging out and coming back in, that might solve your problem. But if anybody can confirm that they can see the slides, I'm on slide 2 with a bunch of words and a change switch, that would be lovely. So I want to make sure that you guys can see everything. So I'm just going to change the slide a bit just to make sure you're seeing. Anyone? Elaine's getting the same message. Okay, but some of you can see. Great. Okay, so Elaine and Linda and anybody who isn't seeing the slides, if you can log out and come right back in, that would be great. And there is going to be a recording afterwards, but I'm not sure why it's working for some and not everybody. So thank you all for who can also see it for letting me know, and thank you so much for Elaine and Linda for letting me know if there's a problem. So if you're having a problem, log out, come on back in. And then if you're still struggling, let me know, and I'll make sure that you get a recording so you get to see this. So let's dive in. A little bit about me. So if this is your first webinar with me, there's a few things that you need to know. I have a tiny little kitten who's now getting much more grown, and she's moving my laptop around right now, and she likes to be a part of webinars, so you'll see her at some point. My name is Lisa Kilgore. I'm a registered holistic nutritionist and have been so for 11 years now, since 2007. And in that time, I've worked with thousands of people with a variety of different issues. I've kind of worked in everything at this point. And so, but the biggest thing that I dealt with, and the biggest thing that many of my clients deal with, is change. And I am like the stubbornest changer around. I do not change easily, and I have very little willpower when it comes to food style changes. When it comes to like business and life and drive, I've got tons of it, but it doesn't translate into my food. So I've had to use all of these techniques for myself. And the change theory that we're going to talk about today is something I learned just a handful of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, but I used myself 15 years ago, not knowing what it was. So it is something that really does work. And it changed my diet from a diet full of sugar and processed food to what it is today, which is what you'd expect of a holistic nutritionist. I had like 8 or 9 servings of fruits and vegetables today. It's kind of my norm. And that happened slowly over time and slowly with these style of changes. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Linda, I see that you're still not seeing it. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm not sure why. I will ask my webinar provider. So in the meantime, if you can hear it, that's great. And I'll make sure that you get a recording afterwards. Everybody's going to get a recording. Okay, so let's dive in. Oh, and Linda, yeah, we are going. I hope you can hear it. And I hope that otherwise you'll get the recording. I'm so sorry it's not working. So this is one of my favorite quotes because it's really, really true. Most people don't realize how close they are to health and happiness. And this was me in 2002. In 2002, I was so exhausted and so tired and foggy, and I was barely functioning, and my diet was atrocious. My diet was that sugar-filled, processed-filled, food-filled diet. And what I didn't realize was it didn't take a lot for me to change, to feel better. All it took was one tiny little change. I made one small change. I put a green food supplement into my diet. That's it. That's so small and minuscule, especially in a diet so atrocious. But what happened was my energy came back and my brain turned back on and my complexion looked so much brighter that people who hadn't seen me in a few months were asking me, what are you doing? You look fantastic. And it was a really small change. And that small change, got bigger and bigger and bigger because having green food in my life made my body understand chlorophyll and how wonderful green things are. So I started creating everything green. And then I started liking more vegetables. And then my diet started changing more and more and more to create the life I have today. And little did I know that one day that I took that one green supplement once would make such a difference in my life. And so no matter where you are today, there is a chance that one small little change can change your health and your energy and how you're feeling so dramatically that you wonder, how did I not know this? Why didn't I do this before? So if you see what you think is a momentous change that needs to happen, and these small little steps being like way too small, you just don't know what it is that's going to really move you forward and help you feel better. So just keep this in mind, that if tomorrow or a week from now or a month from now, you could feel much, much better. And it could be something really, really small that does it. It's really fun. So before we get into the change theory, I just want to talk about the two different kinds of change. Well, there's many different kinds of change, but the two that we're going to talk about today is real change versus limited change. And limited change is the kind of change that is temporary. And we don't always, especially dietarily, assume that what we're doing is limited. So we might start a new diet. So everybody right now is on the paleo diet or the ketogenic diet or the vegan diet. And everybody walking into those ways of eating assume that this is going to be how they are for the rest of their life. And they hope that they can keep this up. The problem is that type of change takes so much effort, and we're going to talk about why in a few slides. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of time. It takes you away from your everyday life. Maybe you aren't eating food with the rest of your family. Maybe your lunch and dinners and breakfast take a lot of work and preparation. Maybe you have to say no to dinner invitations and going to restaurants because it doesn't fit into the way that you're eating. And maybe it's just a lot of work. And if all of that is happening, then eventually you're going to get tired of it. And eventually that you're going to go back to your old ways. And what real change is maybe trying these kind of things out and expanding your boundaries a bit and saying, oh, I tried the vegan diet. I did it for a month to expand my boundaries. And in that time, I learned a whole bunch of vegan recipes that I never would have tried and I really, really love. But I also found that I really like some animal protein in my diet. So I've increased my plant-based foods, but this is kind of where I balanced out. That's real change. That's change that exists in real life. So when we're looking at change, we want change to be more in the real change versus the limited change. We want to make sure that it's working, that our change is working for us as well as possible. So it's just something that we can do. And we're going to see why we get so tired when we're in that big work change. But the first I want to talk to you about how irrational our brain can be. And I was just talking to a colleague of mine in the last hour about how irrational things can be, that how can we feel this and this at the same time. And when it comes to change, our body is very, very irrational. And so this is one of my favorite studies that shows how irrational we can be. So this is a study on moviegoers, and in the year 2000, a whole pile of moviegoers got surprised. They were given free popcorn and a pop to go with it, and the researchers were trying to see if different sized popcorn containers created more the people to eat more. So was the size of the container the determining factor on how much everybody ate? So what they did is they gave everybody popcorn, nobody had to share, and they gave two different sizes. They gave a medium size that was ginormous, that was so big that no one person could possibly eat it in the span of a movie that's that big. And then the large was significantly bigger than that. The description was that of a small swimming pool, and I'm sure that was an exaggeration, but we can see how big these containers of popcorn were. And you might be thinking, well, what if everybody given the larger thing of popcorn simply liked popcorn more? So they made sure that wasn't the case here, because they had popped this popcorn 5 days earlier. This was extremely terrible popcorn. This was inedible popcorn. This was popcorn that squeaked every single time they ate it. So they were given ginormous amounts of terrible, terrible, terrible popcorn. And then they sent them into the movie to see what happened. And so what we get here in the movie is mindless eating. And that's how a lot of us are eating, especially our evening snacks. We are eating a lot of our time mindlessly. And so here these people have this ginormous container of popcorn in front of them, but in their first bite, they can see that this is inedible, that this is not something that anybody really wants to eat. What happened, though, is then they took the popcorn at the end, and they asked them different questions. Most people were so upset with the terrible popcorn, they wanted their money back, even though they didn't pay for it originally. But the researchers weighed and measured how much popcorn had been eaten. And what they found was those with the ginormous, extra large container of popcorn ate more of this terrible popcorn than those who had the medium size. They ate 53% more. That equals 21 more times that their hand mindlessly went into that popcorn container to eat the squeaky and stale and terrible popcorn. We need to keep this in mind. We need to remember that our bodies and our minds don't always act rationally, that we can have in front of us inedible food and we'll still eat it. And we'll eat more of it because it's in a larger container. And these are the things that we need to keep in mind when we're attempting change. We want to help this side of our irrationality. We want to embrace it. We want to say, how can I make this work for me? Instead of just saying, I don't have enough willpower to say, no, look, I ate more of this disgusting popcorn. That's how little willpower I have. This wasn't about willpower. They didn't measure the amount of willpower everybody in this group had. They just randomly gave them different sizes of popcorn. They've repeated this test over and over again in different cities and different movie theaters, and exactly the same problem, the same results come up. This is a part of our human condition. This is our humanness, kind of at its most lovingly, because when we embrace these foibles, and we embrace these really interesting parts of ourselves, then we can take care of ourselves a bit better. Our self-care can be a bit better. And we can use this to our advantage. So let's take a look at change theory. And so this change theory comes from one of my favorite books, Switch, How to Change When Change is Hard by Chip and Dan Heath. And sorry, it's backwards, but if you can read backwards, there it is. And I love this book. I love this book for a variety of reasons. I love it because it embraces our humanness, it embraces our foibles, and it gives us concrete ways to still create change. It's not just saying, well, you're human, so this is just how life is going to be. Instead, it gives us answers to these truths about ourselves. The first thing we need to look at before we get into the change theory is zombie mode. We spend most of our time on autopilot. The moviegoers eating that popcorn, we're on autopilot. When we get up in the morning and we get ready for work and we leave and drive ourselves to work and go through most of our days, we're on autopilot. We're in zombie mode. We aren't thinking out every moment of every day, because if we did, we would be really tired. It's good that there's things that we do on autopilot. It lets us think about other stuff. It lets us just kind of relax into our day. We need to know that this zombie mode exists, and anytime we're trying to push ourselves out of it, that's going to be a struggle. It's going to create some friction, and it's going to take some energy to do that. And it's okay if we're doing that a little bit. When we go into the big dietary changes, like what I described earlier, in the limited change type of change, then we are taking ourselves out of this autopilot zombie mode for large spans of time in our day, and that gets draining and gets really tiring. And unless that's all you do in a day is take care of your food, it's going to be hard to keep up because we have other things we want to do with our life. So just let's keep in mind that zombie mode exists and that it's good for us, and that we just need to take that into account. So in this theory of change, we have one of the best analogies I've seen on how we function as humans, which is an elephant with a rider on top. And this explains our struggles with change really, really well, because it also puts in perspective the size of each part. So let me explain it a little bit. So first of all, we have the rider on top of the elephant, and this is our thinky, rational brain. This is our brain that makes decisions, that thinks things out and thinks things through. And this is the part of our brain that helps pull us out of zombie mode. This is our awareness. This is our willpower. This is a lot of our rationality. On top of this rider is sitting on an elephant and is attempting to move the elephant around. And the elephant is our emotional side. It's our emotional brain. It's also where the zombie mode or our autopilot lives as well. And this is kind of the bulk of how we live. This is when you're eating a cookie and didn't realize you grabbed the cookie. This is your elephant. This is when you wake up, you go to bed with the best of intentions, and the first thing you do is eat the food that you decided not to eat. This is your elephant. Your elephant works entirely emotionally. But the elephant, when you speak directly to it, can make amazing change. But doesn't work rationally. You can't give it numbers and you can't give it a diet plan and expect it to go by it. But we can talk to the elephant. We also can make the path or the environment that you're in work for you. An example of that would be you're trying to eat breakfast in the morning, and you wake up, and your rational brain, your rider, is trying to get your elephant into the kitchen and is working really hard to say, come on, eat breakfast. And your elephant is still in bed, really wanting to sleep a bit longer. And it's trying to say, no, we have to get up. We have to get up. We have to get up. The way to open up the path to make that easier is to assume the elephant's going to sleep in late and have food there ready that you can grab on your way out the door. And that is the way of making the rider happy and just assuming the elephant is going to do what it wants to do. There are other ways of making this work, but this is just the overall theory. And so what we're going to get into now is how that looks in real life. The first thing that can happen, though, is when our rider is in charge, so that guy on top of the elephant, this rational brain, when we make all change just there, when that is the only part of our change plan, there's no emotions, it's just all thinking. First thing that can happen is we get into decision paralysis. The rider likes to do research. The rider likes to think this out. It's an aspect of our thinky brain, loves this stuff. And what can happen is that we have trouble making the decision in the first place. In diet ways, that looks a lot like, okay, I hear about the keto diet and the paleo diet and the vegan diet and the vegetarian diet and the raw diet. Which one do I do? I don't know. I don't even know what I need to do. That is a sign that your rider or your rational side is in charge and is struggling with the decision. Anytime you're weighing multiple things but can't get into which area, that is decision paralysis, and that can really harm our change ability. The way to get out of decision paralysis is to not worry about doing the right change, but worry about doing a change. Just try it out. You can't decide between these 3 diets, do one of them for a week. Doesn't matter which one, try it out. And it can get you out of that constant thinky, overwhelmed state. The other downside of having the rider or the rational part in charge is it makes change really exhausting. Imagine being an elephant rider all day long and you're spending your day trying to move this elephant in a new direction. That's what your rational thinking part of your brain is doing anytime you're trying to make a big change that you haven't felt emotionally yet. So you're spending all day saying no to cravings, and you're spending all day eating foods that you don't really want, and you're spending all day doing what's right. That is exhausting. And that will end eventually. The only result of being on a diet is falling off it eventually. Anytime you're on, off is the only other side of it. So what we want to do is make change as easy as possible by not engage. Well, we do want to engage the rational side. We do want to engage the rider, but we want to give it jobs to do. And that's really key. So let's get into the 4 steps to create change. And the first one is that we want to get our emotions, our elephant, connected with this change. And I'll get into how to do that. But the main is to really think about the whys. Maybe you want to start exercising more because you want more energy to spend with your family. Maybe you want to eat a bit better because you see certain illnesses in your family and you want to reduce your risk. It might be that you just don't feel very good, and when you eat better, you feel better. That's how I made my change, is that I always had this connection to how I feel. If I had something for breakfast, I then looked at how I felt later. And if I felt good, I did it again. If I didn't feel good, I tried something else. And really feeling it out can create the ease of change. When I'm tired and grumpy and sedentary and on the couch and I don't want to cook, that whiny, like, I don't want to do it. What gets me off the couch and gets me to eat a meal and make dinner is 2 things. I have foods that make me feel good. So I know that if I make dinner, I'll feel better. I'll even feel better once I'm standing, but I'll definitely feel better tomorrow if I make a good dinner tonight. And I have fast and easy food ideas that I can bypass my sedentariness and talk myself into it. So I can say, but in 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes. 20 minutes is usually my max amount of time that I'll cook. In 20 minutes, I'll have a meal. In 5 minutes, I'll have a meal. And that can get me through that. I just want to sit and watch Netflix because, we all get there. Then we also want to focus on the positives until instead of a giant pile of shoulds. When we gauge our rational part of our brain, we can get into the I should do this, I should do that, and we can really get on to ourselves. And instead, we want to focus on the positive. We want to replicate something we've already done well. Say you you are a really good cook and you really like cooking, but you're finding yourself not cooking as much. How can you do it one more time? You might find yourself, you're really good at breakfast, but terrible at lunch. So what about that can you replicate? Maybe you love going for walks and you've gotten into that habit, but what you need is to add some strength building. Looking at what got you into this great habit of going for a walk. Maybe it's where you went, the time of the day that you went, and how you eased into it. Use that to replicate a new habit in strength training. So focus on the positive. What do you do really well, and how can you replicate that? Then you do want to bring in your rider, your rational part of your brain. You just want to give it a job. This rational part of our brain is incredibly effective as long as it's not in charge. Sometimes people and parts of our brain do much better when they have tasks to do versus when they're in charge of everything. And our rational brain is really good at tasks and not good at being in charge. So having clear direction and clear parameters can really help. That might look like, for the next week, I am going to eat 4 servings of vegetables every day. For the next month, I am going to focus on plant-based foods. For the next month, I am going to lift some weights for 10 minutes every day. So you make it really, really small, doable, but with a clear ending. So that way, in those days when you just don't want to, you know, okay, I can say, I don't have to do this in a week. I'm almost done. Let me just get through that. It really, really helps, because then your rider can just get your elephant in order. That's all it has to do. It's just like, no, come on. This is what we're doing. Let's get here. And the fourth one, and this is the most important one, is you want to be 95% confident that you actually can do this. This is key. You want it to be a challenge, but you don't want it to be a massive one. If it's a big challenge, then you want to cut it down. A couple of years ago, I was feeling very sedentary and I wanted to start walking regularly. And the idea of walking for half an hour every day made rational sense, but I knew that I would struggle doing it. So I cut it down and to 15 minutes, and I still didn't think I could do that every day. So then I cut it down to 5 minutes. So my goal was every day to go for a 5-minute walk. What happened was that 5 minutes got me off the couch and got me out the door and put my shoes on, because I knew in 5 minutes I can come back. Come on, it's 5 minutes. I can't talk myself out of 5 minutes. But as soon as I was walking, I was usually out for 15 or 20 or sometimes 30 or 40 minutes. All I had to do is get outside and keep making that change as small as possible so I could get over the hump, made it so I actually did it. And then I got in the habit of it and I really started enjoying it. And now I don't have to talk myself into going for a walk. I just want to do it. And that can happen with every kind of change. So let's look at a few real changes and how they work in that change formula, so you can start getting some ideas. You might already have a few ideas brewing, but I want to just map it out so it looks like something. Then I'm going to open up the floor for questions. So if you've got any questions or you have a change that you're struggling with, write it into the comments, and I'll answer it at the end. So the first one, I have 3 ideas. The first one is about breakfast. And so with breakfast, we want to engage the elephant, especially with breakfast, especially if you're struggling with it, because you're in super tired zombie mode. And zombie mode is particularly loathsome when you're in bed and having to get up a bit earlier. So we want to make it as gentle and easy as possible. So the first thing is, what do you actually like to have for breakfast? I regularly hear from people the question, what should I have for breakfast? And my answer is always, what do you like? And then when I know what somebody likes, then I can make it healthier if that's needed. So first it is, when you have breakfast, or if you have breakfast, When do you like it? What do you like? And what time of the day do you like having it? So are you a late morning breakfast person? Are you an early morning breakfast person? Where are you sitting? How do you feel after you've had a breakfast that you enjoy? So you might be a regular Saturday breakfaster or a regular weekday breakfast, but have trouble on weekends. So what is your day like when you have breakfast? Then you want to try different foods and check in and see how you feel. So your rational brain is looking for different ideas. So it's like, okay, we're going to try avocado toast today. We're going to try steel cut oats tomorrow. We're going to try picking up something on our way to work this day. And your rational brain's got this great job. Then your emotional brain is the final answer, the yay or nay. And so you want to check in. Did you like it? How do you feel? Do you enjoy this? And when you forget to have breakfast altogether, how do you feel? So when things go off and life gets in your way and you miss this habit, use it as an opportunity to learn and just check in. How do you feel? Are you tired? Are you, how's your energy through the day? How's your cravings through the day? How are your evening cravings when you haven't had breakfast? And really just feel it out. There's no guilt. When our rational brain is in charge, we can just get wrapped up in, oh, I should have. And we miss the learning of, how did the day actually go? How did I feel when that happened? And it can help really get you in a space where you just want to do this. And this is how we can get the elephant to love this change and it not be any work anymore. The second one is evening snacks, because evening snacks have a few problems. They're very emotional too, just like breakfast. And so the first thing that can happen if you're constantly having an evening snack and you want to stop evening eating, is the first one is just notice, when do you crave an evening snack and when do you don't? Put your rational brain in charge to just look and see a pattern. What is really going on here? Then give yourself a snack on those days that you need it or want it. But let's use the popcorn experiment to give us some guidelines and boundaries. And the biggest one is put your snack in a small bowl or on a small plate, because you will eat less. Do not eat out of the package, and do not share your bowl or plate or package with somebody else. What you want, if it's potato chips or popcorn or cookies, is you want to put a couple out, you put the package away, and you go into another room and you eat it. And you want to be away from there. And you can tell your brain, I can have more if I want it. It's okay. But what you'll find is that you'll be more satisfied with less, you will eat slower, and you'll enjoy it more. So you want to enjoy every single bite. Every single bite you want to enjoy because you've chosen to eat it. No guilt here. Your rational brain's job was to notice the pattern and to put it in a small bowl. Now you just get to enjoy it and see how you feel. How do you feel afterwards? How do you sleep? How do you feel the next day? How do you look? I have a love of salt and vinegar potato chips, but I found that they make my eyes really puffy. And so sometimes that's my way of being able to say no, is that emotionally, that's my kitten. Emotionally, I want the comfort food of salt and vinegar potato chips, but also emotionally, I don't want to look I don't want to have big baggy eyes tomorrow. So that can help me make the choice of saying, no, I won't have it tonight. So really be paying attention to how you feel around your evening snack, and that can help disengage this habit and make it a lot smaller when you do. The last one is how to increase the variety of the food in your diet, because we tend to get into habits. And one of the habits that people do to kind of get themselves out of buying the same foods all the time is to try a vegan diet or a paleo diet or trying a different way of eating. And that does work. For me, I can't, like, I've spent a week on a cleanse. I really struggle with that kind of stuff. So that just seems like so, like, to do a complete dietary change, even for a week, just seems so out there that I'm just going to stare at it. I'm not going to do it. Whereas this is a way that I can do it. So I increase variety by adding a new fruit or veggie per week for a month or two. So sometimes this will be January, February. Sometimes it'll be, this year it was kind of like every 2 weeks or so all winter. I tried something new. My newest one was kiwis. I can't believe I haven't like engaged with kiwis before. They're fantastic. They're my new favorite food. So you never know when something's going to come up. So the first step is you give your rational brain the job of finding a new fruit or vegetable when you're at the grocery store. Then you eat it and you enjoy it and you learn how to eat it because it's only one food. So it's not that big of a learning curve. Again, rational brain. And then emotionally, you can keep the ones you like. How do you like it? Do you like bok choy? Do you like arugula? Or do you like kiwis? Or do you like this kind of orange versus that kind of orange? And you'll keep some of them, but you're not going to keep all of them. But the ones you keep will start squishing out other things. So you'll start automatically eating more plant-based foods because you automatically have more plant-based foods you like. This actually works. And no matter where your diet is, if you have very little fruits or vegetables in your diet, this can work. If you have a whole bunch of fruits and vegetables in your diet, this can work. It's all about creating variety and opening up the floor for change. So that is everything I wanted to talk to you about today for change. I'm going to open up the floor for questions in about a minute. So start typing them into the chat. I just want to tell you about my brand new workshop that's starting on May 14th. And it's a real life healthy eating workshop. So it is a way to help you and me and all of us create a real life healthy eating into our diet. So it's going to be 3 weeks of guided workshop on how to increase variety, how to increase the plant-based foods into your diet, how to reduce cravings, how to understand what they are. But by the end, the biggest key is you'll learn what your body likes. You'll learn what your body's constitution is wanting. We're bringing the elephant, the emotional side, into healthy eating, making it real life, making it easy. And so this starts on May 14th. I'm just going to put in the chat the link. So it's easier to, you actually might be able to just click on it. And so it starts on May 14th. It's $35. We have a private Facebook group. There's going to be lots and lots of support, detailed instructions, and it's going to help you expand the plant-based foods in your diet. No matter what, this is not a vegetarian or vegan workshop. This is for all types of eating. It's just opening up the plant-based foods, opening up your gut and healing digestion while also learning what your body likes and how to eat for your own constitution. So join me for that workshop. It all starts on May 14th. You can sign up anytime and let me know if you have any questions on that. So back to questions. So if anybody has any questions, please type them in. I see that Linda wasn't able to get the webinar working, and I'm so sorry for that. If you're seeing this in the recording, I'm really, really sorry that it didn't work out for you. I hope the recording does. Hi, Kathy. I see that you joined. And we haven't had any questions come in yet, but I just want to, actually, you know what? I'm going to leave the workshop one up. One question that I get regularly is, what do you do when you're really, really tired, when you don't have kind of the energy for change, but you feel you need it? That can really happen. We can be, when we need change the most, it can be when we're really drained, when our energy is really low, when we're foggy, when we're tired, like I was in my first change. And the way to do that is to just pick one thing. And I work with my clients all the time to help create doable change no matter where you are and how you're feeling. So if you're really tired and standing and cutting vegetables is too much, and I work with people all the time that are in that state, bringing in juices, going to delis and restaurants that make fresh soups and buying soups there, that works. what you want to do is first give your body some nutrients so your energy comes up. And then when your energy is up just a hair, then you can start doing cooking for yourself in very easy prep stuff like stir fries, or I'll get like Indian curries, and I love them, and add a few vegetables to it. That's a really fast meal. There's a lot of things you can do in a very short period of time. But if you're in a state where even that is too much, then what we want to do is take advantage. In the Okanagan, we have Nature's Fair that makes lots of great foods and have fresh juices. There's also fantastic restaurants and juice bars in every single city, and they can help kind of bridge that gap between where you are now and the nutrients you need to be able to start cooking for yourself. And don't be too worried if your energy is really, really low. We can get you out of that. You may need help. You may need to see me or a naturopath, but we can get you there. So Gina asked a question, reviewing the difference between limited change and real change. Yes, thank you. It is a bit confusing. So real change is permanent. It is when you bring something into your life, and within a reasonable amount of time, you don't have to work at it anymore. For me, that's things like eating fruits and vegetables, going for walks regularly, going for hikes regularly. I don't have to try very hard. If I don't eat enough vegetables today, I'm going to crave them tomorrow. And if it's 2 days in, I'm not going to like it anymore. Limited change is when you have to work really hard at it. So limited change is when you wake up in the morning and you think, okay, food-wise, I have to eat this I have to make this kind of breakfast because this is what works. I need to count these calories, carbs, or protein. And it doesn't become a habit. It always becomes something that you work on. It can be a month in, you're still working on it. 6 months in, you're still working on it. And that is limited. It's limited because eventually you'll get tired and eventually you'll stop doing it. It can be a workout routine that you just don't love, but you feel you should be doing it. If you love doing it, it might just take a bit of time to get in the habit of it, and then you want to go anyways. So it's about creating a change that you really, really enjoy, so you'll miss it when it's gone. That's real change. Limited change is when not only do you not miss it, you still don't really enjoy it a few months in, and that's going to end eventually. And this is every diet in the book, and everything that you have to follow, because if you're on a wagon, all that's going to happen is you go off that. I hope that answers your question. If not, just send me an email, Gina. I can answer it a bit better. So that's all the questions. There aren't any more questions coming in. I'm going to stay on a bit longer. I'll just turn off my webcam and my audio, but I'll type answers if more questions come in. I really do thank you for coming and joining tonight's webinar. Thank you, everybody, also who's listening to the recording right now. I really appreciate the time that you've spent with me and with my ideas, and I really hope they've helped you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me. Join me for free webinars. I do them every couple months. Join me for this new workshop that's coming out, as well as if you want one-on-one help. I do take clients both in Kelowna, Penticton, and face-to-face, as well as online, Skype, FaceTime, or phone. So please don't hesitate. If you need some help, I'm always happy to answer. Thank you so much for joining, and have a good night. Bye-bye.